Teach me to they
Are
teach
you
me
thinking
to.
about interest rates? Are you thinking about should I buy a house?
Hmm. Are you thinking about your credit? Are you thinking is it bad? Is it good?
Are you busting out the seams of your current home and need more space?
If these are questions that are looming in your head, then this is the episode for you. I mean, this episode of Teach Me Tuesday is going to definitely unpack the most researched, Googled question. Should I buy a house? Should I buy a house today in 2024? Rates are high, home prices are high. I can't find the right house. Should I wait? Should I wait? Should I wait? And so, if that's the question that you have, or even if you're a realtor and a lot of your clients are coming to you saying, hey, should I buy a house? I think I'm just going to wait. Then this is the episode that you guys definitely want to tune in on, because we're going to explore, unpack, dissect the magic answer to that question. So, guys, let's introduce ourselves. So, myself, I am LaShawn Abraham. I am a mortgage loan officer, sales manager in our Summerville, South Carolina location. I am licensed in South Carolina and Georgia, and I'm here to serve you for all your lending needs.
Yeah, it's your boy Big G. Nah. Felt like I was about to make my rap mixtape for a second there. Gavin Abraham, mortgage loan officer, Summerville, South Carolina, part of Team Abraham. Guys, always excited to join Teach Me Tuesday and just give you a little bit of knowledge, anything that we can to help move your dreams of home ownership forward.
My name is Wilmot Berry with the Berry Group, brokered by eXp Realty here in the Orangeburg, serving surrounding areas as well, serving residential and commercial clients. So if you need anything pertaining to real estate, I'm your guy.
Hey, so I had a question. I don't know why this just popped in my head, but it's so off topic, but I figured I should ask. So we're all, a part of the Divine Nine. So what was your number, Wilmot, and what is your line name?
Ooh. That was good. That was good. Oh well, so I'm a part of the best fraternity on the
Oh,
planet. Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. Number 6. For those of you that know Rock Club, yeah.
Now, Mr. Abraham.
I
thought
ain't
your
my line
fraternity.
name. I ain't give you my line name. My line name was Icon.
Icon.
That's hot right there. I like that.
I love it. But now, Mr. Abraham.
All right. Well,
what would you say?
I
thought your fraternity was the best fraternity, but I don't know.
Well, we're the oldest and coldest. And sometimes we gotta talk to our youngins. The ones who came after us. So I remember the oldest and coldest fraternity, Alpha Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Beta D. You know how we do. South Carolina State University, Spring 09. My number was number 9.
Both 20, number 9. Look at that.
Number 9 of the 20 Egos. And what you said my line name? It was Gridlock. So it's a good story behind that. Get at me later if you want to know it.
Well, last but not least, we are the devastating divas of that Delta Sigma Theta Incorporated. I was number 33 on a beautiful line of 7 souls of distinction, crossed in 2008. So, Alpha Xi.
Okay.
My line name.
All right.
D now. Missing link. So yeah. So that's just a little fun.
That's cool. That's cool. Right
But back to the original question. Should you wait? I think we get asked this question so many times, right? A person is super excited. They don't really follow the news. They're not really following social media, what's going on in the real estate market. They're just like, hey, I want to buy a house. They wake up saying it's a new year. It's on my New Year's resolution. I want to buy a house. But then as they either start the process or they're researching to start the process, they're seeing the rates, they're seeing the prices, they're looking at their credit, they're just figuring out what it all entails. And now they're like, oh no, is it the right time to buy? Is it? So let's talk about it, guys. Like, is it the right time to buy? What are some factors should we continue? Should we explore if someone is really on the fence on like if they really should buy a house right now, or should they really wait?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people. Well, a lot of calls I'm getting, a lot of things, a lot of skepticism. People are really worried about interest rates, and not that to say that you shouldn't be worried, but I just want
to. Is it the interest rate or is it the payment?
Well, yeah, it's the payment, but people think that the interest rate is what's affecting that payment so much, and it's not just interest rates, guys. It's a storm. It's a storm of it's a perfect storm of home prices being higher than what we've experienced, prior to pretty much COVID per se. Is always easy to highlight things around COVID because a lot of things changed. The nature of how we live and how we work changed, for the most part, which brought about a lot of change in effect in the market. So, homes became more desirable because people had to stay home more. So, that brought about, that reduced the amount of homes that were available because now people want to live and stay different places. So that made, that Wilmot, this is his favorite econ, that made availability scarce, which created a higher demand. And when there's a higher demand, guess what? Higher prices.
Yeah, but based on what you're saying though, like just me like, dissecting what you just said, right? Is people are worried about the interest rate, people are worried about their payment, right?
Hmm.
But my thing is like, what's the alternative, right? Because I honestly feel that there is a batch of people that probably should wait to buy a house. And then there's a batch of people who could truly afford to buy a house, they qualify to buy a house, but they decided to wait, right? So, for the purposes of this particular segment, I mean, we really want to address the people who are qualified to buy a house, they can get pre approved, but they don't like the payment, they don't like the rate, they don't like, the quality of the house, what they can truly buy today, what they could have bought, in the past. So, like,
Hmm.
speaking to those people, what are the pros and cons of them waiting? If there are any pros and cons, what do you think, Wilmot?
So I guess I'm gonna turn this a little bit and look at it from a different lens. I'm so happy for him. One of my best friends. He's in the process of purchasing a home right now, and I'm super excited for him. And but his thing, the reason he's buying isn't because of interest rates. The reason he's buying isn't because of, hey, the prices are low or high or whatever. It's a personal decision.
Hmm.
Mm.
Okay, it's a personal decision, guys. This is like me asking the question, like, is it a good time to go back to school, or is it a good time for me to go to the doctor? It
Hmm.
depends on you. You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And
Something like
EJ said it right there. It might be a family situation, right?
that.
Maybe he's busting out the seams and he got 5 kids and he
Ooh,
got a 3 bedroom. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So that's
So
a good point. So how does someone arrive or derive at the answer to that question? Like, being that
Hmm.
it's a personal decision, how does a person truly make that decision? You know what I mean? Like, just based on reality.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think you think about your quality of life, you
Mm.
know, think about your family, you know. I think about it every day, and this is one of the things that I try to do with my kids is make them say what they're grateful for every morning, right? Just to put them in a state of gratefulness. And every once in a while they'll say, man, I'm grateful for my house, you
Oh.
know. I'm grateful for my house. And it made me realize, like, man, when I get up every day, when I go out there and I try to go out there and hunt and work hard, I know what I'm paying for every month, my family is benefiting from that, you know, and it's ours. It's we own it.
All right.
Okay. And going into some more, even more, when we talk about, hey, we're paying down our debt service on the property. I mean, if you're able to buy it cash, good for you. But guys, it's one of the things I realized when I serve my clients and when they buy that home, man, they're breaking so many, generational curses. They're breaking, like, hey, no one owned a home in my family before.
Hmm.
I'm setting myself up to maybe build wealth one day,
Yeah.
and even recently had a client close. She was a single mom, and her daughter and her son is watching her purchase a home. You know, like that's a big deal.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
It's a beautiful
how
thing.
empowering that is.
yeah, man. So it's just it does so much more than just a financial thing. But finances are important when it comes to buying a house, guys. But
Absolutely,
just,
because
just
and to piggyback off that, I mean, everybody's not, the goodness and the glory in being able to buy a home is awesome. But the reality of it is not everybody is home ready. Everybody's not ready to buy. Um,
absolutely,
I mean, it's a different, just talking about today's market, not even where we were 2, 3 years ago, but even today's market, everyone's not in a financial situation to where they can afford a mortgage. People truly are struggling, to pay lower rents that they're paying right now, or lower leases that they're maybe leasing a home, and honestly, it just may not be your time. But there's things that the good news is that you don't have to stay in that situation. Um, I mean, it takes dedication and work, but you can improve your financial situation by increasing your income, decreasing your debt,
absolutely.
to help you, become more home ready and able to go out and shop in today's market, because it's tough, and it also takes some sacrifice. It takes some flexibility, because yeah, you may not be able to afford, we're here in Charleston, but if you're willing to drive, take that drive 30 or 40 miles, out the way to get to work every day and still call something your home, have your own home ownership, Santee, Holly Hill, Bowman, I mean, there are areas in between, it's a commute. Everybody hates commuting. Well, not
Yeah,
everybody. Some people do it for a living, but
yeah,
there are just other opportunities, different avenues that you can still reach your goal and accomplish it by just being flexible.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really good. I mean, I think that's really good sound advice, right? Because the thing that we don't want to happen, that we definitely have experienced, a lot of our clients, and I'm pretty sure your clients, the same Wilmot has experienced. Let's say if last year this time, as rates started to tick up, people made that decision to, okay, I'm going to wait to purchase a home. But then
Hmm.
Hmm.
guess what? Rates didn't drop and home prices didn't fall.
Hmm.
Yeah,
They only went up more. And so what ended up happening is when they come back 5 or 6 months later, the amount that they were approved for, or they could have been approved for, is now a lot less because they waited too long to buy.
Hmm.
So that's one of the cons of waiting. Waiting sometimes can put you in a worse off position because none of us have a crystal ball and we can't predict what rates are going to do or what the market is going to do. So sometimes when the opportunity is there, you have to take advantage of it while you can, because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, or what the market conditions are going to be in the future, and that could
True.
potentially put you in a situation where it doesn't pan out to be as good for you. So I always
absolutely.
encourage people, if you're eligible to buy, if you qualify to buy, then you should definitely pursue
The,
it. You should
yeah,
move
the
forward
answer
in
to the
doing it.
question is, yeah, you should buy now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So let me also give another scenario with that, because I'm always looking at property for
Mhm.
clients, and just think about it, guys. Like you might be saying, "Well, I'm gonna wait till interest rates drop, or I'm gonna wait till prices drop." But what if you find that property, that dream property that you want, right? What if that house has all the bedrooms you need? It
Yeah.
has all the landscaping that you wanted. It's in a great neighborhood in the school district that your
Mhm.
kids go to school at. That's a lot of pros for you to just say, well, I'm gonna wait until interest rates drop. Guess what? You're not the only person looking at that house.
Mhm.
So that, well, if interest rates drop, if they
If
Yeah.
drop, right?
magic word.
If they drop sometime in the future, that doesn't mean that same property is gonna still be there. Okay.
Correct.
So don't
Or it's
miss
gonna still
out.
cost the same amount. That
Right.
that that's
Let's talk about that too.
Yeah.
Because statistically, prices of home prices have been appreciating over the last I don't know how many years,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, so don't get me wrong, there are little retracements here and there in pricing, But guys, I mean, over time, home prices will continue to go up. So
Absolutely.
Yeah. So think
And
about that, right?
hold on,
You're
hold
gonna
on.
talk
Before
about
you,
that, Gavin, about the
yeah,
house
before you
prices.
jump in, so I just kind of even want to just piggyback off of the whole, waiting ideal, especially if you're waiting on rates to drop. I was looking at a historical chart just of rates in the past 20, 30 years, and there's never really been a point in period to where when people say they're waiting on rates to drop, what is there a particular interest rate that you want, or is there a particular number that you want to get to? Because interest rates, they drop and they rise, but they do it very gradually when it comes to dropping interest rates over historically. When we got down to a period in 2020 and 2021 where rates were at a all-time low of 2 and 3%, you know how long it took to get there? It was a gradual regression, or if you can say progression, in regards to those who were waiting for this, of countless years, 15, 20 years, from it coming from a 6 or 7% normalized rate, which rates are now, which they're kind of normalized, um, to how fast it took us to get back to where we are now.
mm,
In
hmm
2000, 2000, what, 2021, rates were still down on like maybe mid to low threes. And today, here we are in 2024, we're back at 6%. It you can wait all you want, but rates aren't going to go down to 3 and 4% in a matter of a year, 2 years, if that ever
Right.
happens again. It's
but
going to
Gavin,
take multiple years to get there.
to add to your point, when you buy a home, you can always refinance,
Yes,
Always.
indeed.
right? You know what I'm saying? Like, but if you're renting, you can never refinance.
Mhm.
You're gonna always be paying the same amount, and most likely you're gonna be probably paying higher. You know, I don't just let me give you a little bit of background on investors when they deal with apartments. Let's just say the property increases in value, right? Some point, that investor might say, "Well, hey, I might want to sell this property." And if he
Hmm.
does sell that property and the new owners take over, guys, guess what? They're probably going to want to raise rents.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm not trying to scare you, but I'm just allowing you to understand that, hey, the landlord is going to determine the rents you pay. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So, I mean, getting into a home where you get a 30-year fixed rate or 15-year fix, whatever you can afford, I mean, you pretty much, you probably will see an increase because of taxes or whatever like that sometimes. But it won't be something like, well, hey, bro, about to get this notice and your rent is about to go up in I don't know, 10%, 20%,
Hmm.
you know. It won't be something like that. So yeah.
So my next thing I want to say there as well is
Take
back to
on,
what you were
brother.
saying,
Go
what you
ahead.
were saying about rates, right? And people who wants to wait and see if rates drop. So I just did a quick little calculation on my little mortgage calculator, right? So let's say if you bought a house at a price of $250,000, and on
Hmm.
average rates today are about 6.5%. So you got someone who says, "Oh, I'm going to wait until rates get lower." So let's say, based on what Gavin is saying, if rates don't, just drastically drop, they gradually, incrementally drop. So let's say incrementally these rates get down to 5.5, right? 5.5 sounds better than 6.5. What difference is that going to make in your mortgage payment if that rate drops by 1 point? So you're going from a mortgage payment that was at 250 at 6.5% of like 1560 to now you're going to about 1400. So $160 is what we're talking about, the difference. So are
Hmm.
you willing to risk $160, you know what I mean, for the possibility of either getting completely priced out of the market or no longer qualifying to buy?
Mm,
Because you never know what your personal situation may be or your financial, what life circumstances may happen to you in the process of waiting. And if that house is going to still be available or someone else is looking at it, is it really worth sacrificing $160? Is there anywhere in your budget that you can cut back to afford
That
to pay a
additional
little
one.
more until, exactly what Wilmot said, until you can refinance if rates get there? Because the flip of it is, if rates don't get there, then you'd be like, thank God I locked in at this rate, because at one point
Absolutely.
last year rates were pushing 8%.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we're glad we're not there anymore, but there's opportunity to always rechange that. We have a phrase, or a little, I guess it's called a little phrase that we use. It's called marry the house and date the rate, or
Mhm.
whatever. If you love that house, if that house has all those things you want and it checks off, a lot of things on your wish list and must have, then marry it, commit to it. In the rate, you can date it, you can change it out, you can refinance it, you can do whatever you want, but just
They
don't
say put a
allow.
mortgage, don't put a ring on it, put a mortgage on it.
I like that. Put a mortgage on
Put a mortgage on
it.
it.
So yeah, so we talked about, market conditions, right? We talked about rate or whatever. So what is another reason you guys think that people decide to wait to buy, right? What would you guys say?
I mean, just outside of their own, um, maybe things that they need to work on. Well, let's talk about things that they need to work on. I mean,
Okay.
we know credit is a big factor. A lot of us aren't taught how to manage our credit, so we don't know that we're doing things wrong, um, to hurt our credit, um, and that can be a large barrier. What was that? I missed what
Waiting on them
Eric
taxes.
said. A lot of people come across the barrier of their credit score, and if your credit score is not where it needs to be to meet certain programs or certain approvals, and you don't have the other contributing factors to offset a low credit score, such as you got a lot of money, or um, you have other assets, things that can, or you make a lot of money, that can help strengthen, a viewpoint of a lender saying that, hey, I can give you this money based on, these strengths that you have. Yeah, your credit's not as high as we would want to see it, but you're right. You're right above that threshold to where we can still
Honestly,
meet
what
some
I would say, credit, don't get me wrong, credit is important, but credit isn't everything. Honestly, today, I think the most important piece of this puzzle that people need to purchase a house is money.
Oh yeah.
Money. Money is going to make the key difference, because if you don't have the money to work on your credit, it's not going to do you any good. If you're not going to have the money to put down a down payment, it's not going to do you any good. If you don't have the money to help with closing costs, it's not going to do you any good. If you don't have the money, you need money, because sometimes we need money for reserves. We need money for lots of different things. So I know there's a lot of myths out there that you can buy a house with no money. Now, there are certain ways, if you hit a program the right way, you get in at the right time, if there's a certain incentive, absolutely, there are ways that you can enter into the process and truly end up not spending any money, or either getting your money back. But you truly cannot buy a house with no money, period. You cannot, because there's something that you're going to have to pay for. And if you don't financially have the money to do it, then it's going to hinder you and derail you in this process. And honestly, the more money that you have can help with a lot of things, because if you had more money, either you can put down a bigger down payment, which helps lower your payment. You can use that money to buy down your rate, which will help lower your payment. You can use that money, to pay off debt, which will help you feel more comfortable with the payment. There's a lot you can do with money. So to me, number one is money. Money.
Money.
Money.
Like that.
So next question.
I like that face, right? It's like,
I was like, dang, where do I go from here?
I ain't got nothing to say.
once you
Hey,
drop that hammer.
you heard it from the lender themselves. Like, and I always tell people this. I'm like, hey guys, if you're trying to figure out how to buy a house and you need financing, talk with the lender. I don't care if your credit messed up. Talk with the lender. At least let them know. At least let them, look at your stuff and tell you, all right, this is where you at. This is where you need to be.
Right.
Okay. All right. Now let's work on that, and figure out a plan to get you there. So instead of you just trying to figure out yourself, or just giving up and not even trying at all.
I 100% agree with that, because I think what ends up happening when people try to either Google the answer, or rely on their own, intellect or their families, advice to do things, then sometimes they truly are pushing themselves further away from being qualified than doing exactly what you're saying, going to the professionals and letting them truly advise you on what your next steps should be. So I totally agree
Absolutely.
with that. So
Absolutely.
let's talk about affordability for a little bit. So that word kind of gets thrown out a lot, and I know we did a previous episode, kind of talking about affordability, but a lot of people, that's one reason why they may be hesitant to buy right now. And they're like, I can't afford it. What if they truly can't afford a $1,800 mortgage payment if they're only paying $600 or $700 or maybe $1,000 now? What do you normally say to that type of client?
Talking to me or Gavin.
Any
Sorry.
one of y'all lovely fellas that want to answer the question.
I mean, what I tell them in a nutshell, because of course I'm a just let's look at it from this aspect. When I talk to a new client and you trying to understand what their expectation is, what monthly payment are you most comfortable with? A lot of times that doesn't line up with what quote unquote the affordability of today's market, because a lot of new home buyers, they're coming off of paying rent from that was, could have been $1,200, $1,300 per month, and of course, my favorite phrase, running from the rent. People are now flocking, thinking that the alternative to get away from rent increases is home ownership, which that is partially true. To avoid constant increases in what you're paying per month, you're now going to a stable fixed payment. However, the only reason that rent is able to be as high as rent is because home prices and mortgages are as high as they are. So you're not running from one situation to the other to solve a situation in regards to affordability in that time and in that time, but you're running to it to stop the increase, to stop seeing the increases. So um, I say I lost my train of thought for one.
But this is what I'm gonna say, because I'm
What
I'm
that question
stingy.
was?
I'm a stingy. So like, what do you tell to the person who say I truly can't afford it? Because I get
Oh
this
yeah,
question a lot, right? I mean, I had probably in the last week 2 or 3 clients call, and we go through our initial questionnaire that we kind of ask people, and one of the main questions we ask is like, what's your budget for your mortgage payment? How much can you afford to pay? What is comfortable for you to
mm-hmm.
afford? And so lately, the numbers we've been getting is $1,000, $1,200, even $1,300, right? And so myself, what I try to do is that I'm not trying to be mean or harsh, but I try to be as transparent and educate people at the same time. I let them know, like, hey, on an average house price, trying to get $1,000 or $1,200 mortgage payment is truly unrealistic. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very unrealistic, right? And if
Right,
it's very difficult for you to afford $1,200, then sometimes it requires you to take a self evaluation and reassessment of your finances. Because the reality of the fact is, and I like to use this analogy a lot, like no matter if you think about just over time, right? Your income should be increasing unless you're retired and and paid off stuff or whatever. Your income should always be trying to be increased, because
mm-hmm.
the cost of living is always increasing. If you think about the price of milk, eggs, gas, every time I go to the grocery store, my bill is at least $100, and I don't even know what I bought. The cost of goods continue to rise. I have not seen, my parents tell me milk used to cost a quarter. Milk is like $6 now. And I have yet to see it drop back down. The same
Yeah.
thing with real estate, right? The house prices, when we bought our first house in 2011, the price that we paid for that house, I don't think we'll ever see that price again in this lifetime.
123.5.
Like it doesn't exist. And so you have to think about that as well when you think about your income, right? You can't be making the same amount of income for 30 years. that's just being real. You need to think of how am I going to continue to elevate and increase my income to afford the lifestyle that I desire to have.
Mhm.
You know, LaShawn, that's a hard question. Uh, I'm not a big fan, and I'm just be honest. This be me being transparent,
I love it.
and
Be transparent.
I I'm not a big fan of having hard conversations. And I
Oh, you try to avoid them?
well, I can't sit here and be like, man, oh man, hey, this is what it is. You know, I hate
I feel,
I
I
hate
feel
I
you.
hate I hate busting the bubble, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Or killing dreams.
Right.
I know some of my clients sometimes. I love my clients. Let me first say that I love all my clients. Anybody that desires to work with me, I just love serving people. But I also have to be honest with them to serve them properly. Okay. Well, to go back to, I got 2 points. That $1,000 a month, 12, $1,300 a month, depending on the market you're in, we could make that work. Okay, depending on the market. Orangeburg, yeah. Charleston, no,
Right.
no, no. Let's just be transparent right there.
Mhm.
That just ain't gonna work, you know. So, um, but I do have the few that come. They have what we call this quote, this phrase, champagne taste on a beer budget.
Mm.
Okay. And I'm gonna explain what that means. You know, and my realtor friends will know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I want 4 bedrooms. I want granite countertops. I want 3,000 square feet, but I only want to spend $1,200 a month. That ain't gonna happen. That
How do you have
champagne
that
taste,
tough conversation?
that champagne taste on a beer budget. Okay. And it's our job as realtors to make sure we guide our clients and say, hey guys, and we ask that question. It's like, hey, what are you looking to spend on a monthly basis? And the only reason we're asking that question is to gauge the affordability for you.
Mhm.
That's it. Not trying to see where your pockets are, but just trying to gauge affordability. Because like if you're sending me 400, $500,000 houses, then we unless you put down a substantial amount of down payment, you
Mhm.
won't be able to have 1,000 or 1,500 or even $2,000 a month mortgage. So yeah, that affordability piece is crucial when looking for a home, and we need to always just be mindful of making sure that our clients can understand what's affordable for them and what's not. So
Yeah.
I mean, that's perfectly said. I mean, so that's it. I know we went over a little bit, but I think this topic was so good. We just had so many great nuggets and gems to, provide to you guys. So, guys, if you are in the market to purchase, to buy, sell, or refinance, I mean, this is your team right here. Give, Gavin, Wilmot or myself a call. We are always willing to serve you. We're always willing to meet you wherever you are. And so, till our next episode of Teach Me Tuesday next week, we'll catch you guys later.
Yep.
all right,
Peace.
have a good one.